a T-stroll. Hey guys, it's Steve from Classic Barnstormers. You join us on another T-stroll. It is not great outside, so apologies for the ambient noise, but we'll do our best. Join me in Site B with a cup of tea. Let's go on that stroll. Up here we've got a E34 535 i Sport. This is a lovely car. Diamond Smarts metallic with black sports leather. It's manual. I actually almost bought this car. I'm going to say it's probably 4 or 5 years ago. It popped up for sale. It was up for sale for a couple of days. Thought, oh, that's a good looking thing. And then it disappeared very quickly. And I thought I'd missed out. But it transpires that the owner decided, didn't have the heart to sell it. He moved actually into the local area, not too far from here. And after a period of storage, it's come in for an appraisal. One of his particular concerns, and I think one of many E34 owners, especially cars with sill trim covers, is rust. The sill trim covers, whilst they make the cars look more modern, unfortunately do rather hold the dirt. So what happens is it traps the dirt between the sill and the plastic cover. It never really dries out and it acts constantly on the steel. The sunroof on these cars drains into the sill channel and it should drain out through the jacking points. So couple that, you've got moisture attacking it from the inside, moisture attacking it from the outside. They don't really stand much of a chance. And we have regularly pulled these covers off to find that most of this, particularly rear section of the sill, comes with the sill covers. Now, the owner of this vehicle was particularly concerned. I would say, had I bought this car 4 or 5 years ago, I'd been a very happy chap indeed, because they are really good. He does have, just get the torch, he does have some corrosion, but it is by no means terrible. These jacking points are really good. It's had some paint on this sill here. The whole car's had paint. And you can see the drain hole there is a little bit blocked. So these need cleaning up, protecting, and then they shall be quite all right for some time. So 3 out of 4 of the jacking points are actually in that kind of condition, and that is a pleasant surprise, because I think based on what the owner told me when he dropped it off, we'd braced ourselves for a lot worse. But as it happens, it's only this one that is going to need repair. As you can see, it's in quite a state. We were given permission. Now, we don't normally poke things on an appraisal, but on this particular job, we were given permission to remove the sill covers and have a poke about. And as you can see, our head fabricator, Mr. Bowles, has taken his trusty poke and screwdriver, and it has in fact gone through there. So this one is going to need a bit of reconstruction work, but otherwise it's pretty good. We did discover that the relief strip behind the jacking point is obviously in quite a bad state. The bottom of this wing is just starting to go. So as part of the appraisal, this floor bung is blown. Not terribly rotten, it's just the moisture has got in under the undersill and it's started to peel away. You can see the same thing happening with this one. But overall, I would say the owner is catching this just right. At the moment, he's looking down the barrel of a kind of inspection 2 service, going through all the major systems, fuel, ignition, cooling, good mechanical service. There's some bushes, some ball joints, brakes, tyres, and a very small amount of welding. And then he'll have himself a really nice car, which he can just stay on top of and keep enjoying. Oh, hello. Thought I'd show you a little bit of undercarriage protection. So as you can see, we've got a lovely drive shaft here that has been rebuilt with new caps, new boots, and we've painted the original shaft. You can't get these anymore, so rebuild really is the only way. As you can see, made a lovely job of them. Use really high quality boots and boot kits, very important. It's quite a lot of work. A surprisingly large amount of work goes into doing these. It's very time intensive. So want to be using good stuff, want them to last. Pop those back down there. Right, so we've got a bit of a production line going here for, this is a rear end kind of overhaul. We would normally, on some of the vehicles, we'd buy new bolts, but this one, it's not in the agenda. So the bolts are actually in really good condition. We just clean them up and give them a little paint. We are refurbishing the ABS hub, obviously yet to put new rings on it. The stub axle itself, the trailing arms. We use a really hard-wearing epoxy mastic and enamel-based product. It doesn't finish quite as well as powder coat, but the truth is, powder coat, whilst it fills holes and gaps very, very nicely, all it takes is one little nick in it and it starts peeling off. This is a really hard-wearing product, and although it doesn't finish as nicely, if we're truthful, it looks fantastic in photographs, and it actually protects the trailing arms and all the underbody components, which is the really important bit. In the background, you can see we've got a disassembled engine. This is the internals of a B34 engine, camshaft, valve train, pistons. This is part of a full restoration that we're doing. I believe the shells featured in a previous T-Stroll was a red M535i. And we've started on the engine, dismantling it. The cylinder head and block are going off to the machine shop. We know that the block is, or the bore's damaged. It's got a damaged bore, sorry. And the pistons will go off and be chemically cleaned. And it'll all go off to the machine shop together. So just a little insight into process. Here we are with a pair of sexy sixes. So early burgundy car with the early stripe pack, very cool, very low mileage. I think it's kind of 50 to 60,000 miles, this one. This car's having a general kind of refit. One of the pitfalls of very low mileage cars is that often, whilst they might be very low mileage, they are generally running on all their original bits. So whilst bodily they tend to be better, mechanically, in order to get them to drive and feel as nicely as perhaps that you would like them, they can be a bit tired, and this one is exactly the case with this vehicle. So we're going through it to kind of give it a refit, a bit like a ship, I suppose. It's done however many thousand nautical miles, whether you use it or not, the bits are all old and tired, and they're stopping the car from performing as well as it potentially could. So we've got a fantastic remit from the owner to go through and kind of give it a new lease of life. So let's have a look. So we've got the early style badge, which I always think is really cool, on the black background. And what are we doing? We're doing axle carrier bushes. You can see part of the special tool, not all of it, but that's part of the special tool that allows us to fit these large drum bushes in situ. This is what remains of the original. What tends to happen is they collapse. This one actually doesn't look too bad. Often they're very split around here. Often they're very split around here and around this aluminium part. What happens is the whole body starts to sag, and you see you've got these two lobes here. That sits up against the body, should not touch the body of the car, and what happens is the bushes sag and collapse, which allows these to be pushed up against the body of the car, and as the body moves, it literally wears all the underseal away on top of the bush and on top of the metal housing that the bush sits in. That creates rust. So we are constantly doing axle carrier mount repairs, particularly E24s, E28s, E30s, and the reason for that is generally brought on by these bushes failing and causing damage to the body. So you can see we've done front suspension arms, almost the complete set, track control, drop link, thrust, and control arms. So we do complete assemblies. There's no point messing about. So we've done complete assemblies. You'll see the brake calipers are missing from this car because we've had a bit of a question, particularly over the offside front. Offside front caliper. The disc is blued, as is this one slightly. You've got all this corrosion on the outside lip And we did actually discover when we took the caliper, offside front caliper apart, that the thread, the slider pin goes into, was entirely stripped, which was allowing the whole thing to move in and out. And that was what was causing the front offside caliper to seize slightly. So it's having discs, pads, complete brake overhaul. As I say, front suspension arms. A lot of the other work's being done in the engine bay. This vehicle, a lot of the foam seals in the heating system had broken down, and it was causing the blower motor to push dust, potentially toxic dust into the vehicle. So it was really, really important to the client that that problem was cured. That was the very first job we did. It was massive. It meant stripping out the entire dash. And poor old Lewis had the pleasure of dismantling and rebuilding an E24 dash, which is no mean feat, but we refoamed all the seals in the heater system, and we also found a bit of corrosion that we treated. So yeah, been tested, replaced the resistor for the fan as well, so all the fan speed working now, and hopefully when the car's back on the road, the heating system will be working as per, and the owner and his family can drive around in it, safe in the knowledge that they are not breathing in toxic 80s foam. So yeah, there you go. It's quite a long list. Have we got the job? We got the job card? Ta-da! So just cover that bit up. So this is our agreed list of works. This is how we function. So you come along, you have your appraisal, and then from the appraisal we identify items that wish to be carried out, and then we carry out said list. So there you go. There's a relatively short one, but there we go, working away. Oh, not as short as I thought. Couple more pages here, and you can see Lewis has been knocking items off it. So yeah. Next, so the green 6 Series started out life as a silver 6 Series, and it's been painted this fabulous dark green colour. We don't actually know what the colour is. I'm not sure if it is a genuine BMW colour or not, but it gets a lot of attention. Everybody's been here since the car is here. I think it's a unanimous that it suits the car, and perhaps one BMW should have considered at the time. Now this car also came in for an appraisal, and again it's having quite a similar amount of work to the red one. It's a mechanical refit to give it back its prowess, and to live up to the ultimate driving machine slogan. The major job on this one was the camshaft. So it's common, unfortunately, for the lobes to wear through poor valve timing. It's generally created by poor servicing, lack of oil changes, and people over tightening the valves. The other thing that we can show you is kind of common, or we're finding more and more of. This is the thermostat housing for an M30 engine. It's the same across pretty much every M30 engine. And what we're finding more and more and more, particularly, again, caused through lack of servicing, lack of regular servicing. You can see that there's erosion forming in this aluminium component that hasn't gone through, but it is getting very, very thin. It's an inexpensive component to change, although it can be a bit of a bugger to get off. And what eventually tends to happen is a leak will form here. It doesn't come firing out, but it gets out underneath the hose. You get a build up on this edge here, and obviously if air's getting in, water's getting out. So we've got a nice shiny new one, all built up, ready to go on. So there we go, the cylinder head. In order to change the camshaft on these cars, the cylinder head does have to come off. So the cylinder head was pulled off, stripped down. We decided, given the mileage, given the age of the vehicle, it's always sensible. Took it to the machine shop and got them to check it over. Had a bit of wear in the valve guides, exhaust, which is the norm on these cars. It's just fair wear and tear over time. They have brass valve guides, and they're obviously brass is soft and they do wear. So whilst the cylinder head was off, take the opportunity to go through it properly. We had some new valve guides put in it, and now this thing is going to run perfectly. We'll replace all the valve stem oil seals, and this will stop any additional oil usage. The vehicle is new to the owner, so as yet he's not able to comment. As you can see, the cylinder head's gone back on. It's been chemically cleaned. We have replaced, it's having a gasket set, head bolts. It's had all brand new rockers, all brand new eccentrics. I don't know if it's easier for you to see the lower one, but this round disc here is the eccentric, and that is what we adjust to get the correct valve adjustment and to stop the premature wear of the camshaft, which has what caused us to take it apart in the first place. We've also taken the opportunity to fit a starter motor whilst we have the access, and there are various other engine bay based jobs that will go on whilst the car is in situ. Underneath we fitted new fuel lines, new brake lines, flexis, etc, etc. Again, this is a bit of a refit job. We're doing quite a lot of these at the moment. People who found themselves pretty nice cars, tend to be lower mileage, but they are in need of a refit. Cheers. We're in the fabrication building. It's quite noisy because of the roof. I want to show you around the M5. The carmine red car, which I think did feature in the last T-Stroll. Unfortunately, it's got a lot more involved. So it's moved from the box into the main workshop because the work has got a bit more involved. It was always on the cards to do these repairs, the sill, as we progressed, what we uncovered really was just a string of historic repairs, most of which had actually been done really well, but they were all starting to blow out in every direction. And it seemed, given that we'd gone this far, and the major discovery was in fact the chassis rail. The anti-roll bar bracket and thrust arm brackets are very common places for these cars to rot out. This one was extremely rotten. It didn't look too bad, but it really was a case of the underseal holding it together. So we've ended up putting an entirely new chassis rail in it. I was lucky enough to get one of the very last ones from BMW. We managed to put in a new support panel, rebuilt the battery or ABS wall, and a lot of the front panels along here. None of it was really terrible. There was just a lot of rust on these panels. We again were lucky enough to acquire a new old stock panel, so we decided the best thing to do for the best job, being that the owner has had the car a very long time, has absolutely no intention of selling it. His plan is to continue to enjoy it for many years to come. The best service we could do, on the basis that some of this had to come out anyway to put the chassis rail in, was to replace these panels with new. Particularly want to show you the wheel arch on the other side. So this side had the same or similar amount of work. This chassis rail, the passenger rail never tends to be as bad. It's largely down to people overfilling their power steering reservoir, the oil leaking into the rail, and the oil stopping it from rusting away. But nevertheless, good anti-corrosion. What I want to show you is this section up here. So I'm just going to let the ramp down. If you hold on there for a second. From here you can see a greater amount of the work that we've done in the engine bay. I say we, Graham has done in the engine bay. So it's had a new battery tray. We've had to completely rebuild the ABS panel. It was in quite a poor state. And once we cleaned it up, it became evident that particularly a lot of the bracketry was so badly corroded that it wasn't really doing the business anymore. So again, as we had to have the entire chassis rail out, it made sense to repair this at the same time. The entire wing rail, this side, it was just full of corrosion. Again, wasn't terrible, but it was just rusty everywhere and it was weak. The main thing was it was weak, which is commonly what we find when we take the wings off of 5 Series, off of E28 cars. They're not massively holed or disintegrating, but they're very, very weak, and you can literally get hold of them and move them like that, which of course you don't want, because that is a reduction of structural rigidity in the car. Commonly, as I've mentioned in my previous E28 buyer's guide, which you can find on our YouTube channel, which is particularly focused on rust, this is a common area where these cars rust. There are two skins here. You've got the reinforcement plate, which is under here, and then you've got this on top, which is actually just quite a thin layer of steel, and you can actually see where it is. This panel pushes up through, and it's all spot welded together. So we've made some repairs to this thin top layer of steel. As you can see, it is pretty well done now. Graham is actually in the process of scuffing it so we can reseal the underside. It's going to be a really good job when it's done, this one. There is still bits of surface rust in the engine bay, but given the fact that we're now committed to painting the whole engine bay, it's more cost effective to strip it down a little bit further and have the engine bay media blasted before it's painted. What's hiding under here? Join me in the box. In here we have a 89 325i Tech 2 Sport, which has been, so say, restored in the past. It is not in a good state. Came in for appraisal. I think the owner had owned the car for a little while, and he had a fairly clear inclination that it was not in a good way. We appraised the vehicle and we found multiple areas of corrosion coming through. We put it in for MOT and it failed. What it actually failed on was a hole about here. But as we dug away at it, what we mostly found up here was filler and mastic. That bolt head there is actually part of the, with the master cylinder bolts in. And as you can see, the floor corner was just made of hopes and dreams. You can see how thin and cruddy this, what's left of this steel is. You could see where it had been repaired before. Unfortunately, it transpired that it also had a new aftermarket steel panel laid over the original seal. So I'm not sure if Lewis might be able to get this from the other side. But you can see that is the inner seal panel there, which is also rotten. You've got the original jacking point locator, and I don't think you can see it. You might be able to see it from underneath, but this seal is just literally overlaid over the original seal. And you can see whoever did it wasn't very careful. If they needed to drill some holes for some clips, they've had 3 attempts at it before they've got it right. It's a real shame because it looked a very nice car from the outside. And it will be a very nice car when it's done. It's just unfortunate the owner is going to go through a considerable amount of pain to get it to where it needs to be. But there's no point in having these things if they are not safe. And that is one of the key mantras. Safe, reliable, enjoyable is what we're all after. So we're doing our best. We've managed to get some genuine BMW panels to repair this, put it back to the way it is supposed to be. As you've probably seen from the little tour around, we are not without fabrication work. And if you follow us regularly, you will know that we are advertising for a fabricator, have been for some time. We are getting busy. As we always are, our fabrication workload is generally months and months in advance. We're already booked quite a long way into next year. We generally have 3 full-time fabricators here, but we have been down to 2 for a little while now. As you can see, the projects are mounting up. If you know anyone or you are in yourself a fabricator, welder fabricator, and you're interested in what we do, or you'd like to find out a bit more about the available job, please don't hesitate to get in touch. We do operate a very high level of fabrication here. It is factory or better. So if it's something that interests you, we are a small team. Everyone is really easygoing, and we all want the same thing, which is to turn out excellent quality work. So if that's something that you might be interested in, please get in contact. Thanks for joining us for November's tea stroll. It is miserable out there. So everyone, I think this time we can probably pour ourselves a second brew and put our feet up.